right. Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning into Facilities in Focus. It's always a pleasure to join you on your journey throughout the internet. But in case you forgot, my name is Mackenna Moralez, and I am the Associate Editor of FacilitiesNet and your host of this very podcast. Today, I am joined by former Building Operating Management cover star and my dear friend, Alishia Jolivette. Alicia is the Chief of Facilities and Maintenance Operations for Houston Independent School District. You wouldn't believe it, but she first began her career with HISD in 1996 as a substitute clerk, eventually turning over to the maintenance department, where she has held a plethora of titles. Alicia is responsible for the strategic leadership and management of the facilities administration, maintenance and repairs, energy management and sustainability, building and custodial operations, ground support, life safety technologies, and so much more. As you can probably guess, her role ensures that all facilities are safe, efficient, and conducive to learning while adhering to regulatory standards and sustainability practices. But thank you so much for joining me today, Alicia. I'm so glad to have you on. How are you doing?
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. I'm doing pretty good. All things considered, with the weather constantly changing, we're in hurricane season, but I'm doing pretty good.
So that kind of relates to what we're talking about. And I do feel like we always talk about hurricanes together, but a lot of it, what we're talking about today, is just the safety aspect of schools and how we can keep children safe. Because I think we need to remember that regardless of the age of the students, they're still children. So, what are your top priorities when it comes to student safety?
Good question. And so safety is so broad. And so I don't only look at just the physical aspects of it, I look at the entire, um, from the campus to the air quality to the water quality, to just ensuring that the buildings and the campuses are safe and secure. So safe and safety is such a broad word. And so, of course, again, how do I define or how do I ensure that I'm keeping students and staff safe as well as the community? First and foremost, if we do look at, just the physical aspect of it, I always look at the roofs because, of course, we want to make sure the roofs are being well maintained, that they're safe, they're not leaking. Because, of course, if water leaks into the buildings, then comes the moisture and then possible mold, which we know that's not healthy.
Right.
Uh, in addition to that, just the air quality itself, because the air we breathe is so necessary for us to be healthy. And so just ensuring that the air quality is safe as well. And then, of course, as I look back at the campus itself, making sure that doors are locked, doors are secure, doors are actually maintained and operating properly. And so safety is such a broad word. There's a host
Mhm.
of things that I look at actually on a daily basis.
Right. That's interesting that you mentioned doors as part
Mhm.
of safety because I know that during the Uvalde shooting,
Yeah.
that doors were largely blamed in that. What is your approach when it comes to doors? What do you look for in that in order to keep students safe?
So we look at the locking mechanisms. We look at just the door itself, just to make sure it's leveled, because we know the building shift, then those doors, can unhinge. So definitely paying attention to the locking mechanisms as well as the weather strips. So we don't want anything crawling in either.
Right. Oh,
But
that's
so it's just so much that we look at doors, and it's actually a requirement that we do door sweeps. And so the campuses are responsible for doing door sweeps to make sure the doors are functioning properly. Again, we're looking at those locking mechanisms just to make sure the door is actually operating properly. It can open and
mhm.
close properly, as well as just um, not falling off the hinges.
Right. Oh, can you just imagine if that's what was
Yeah.
happening at
Oh, yeah.
school? Do you check for that in all just like the exterior doors, or do you check for it in classroom doors as
All
well?
doors. Yep,
All
all
doors.
doors. Um, but we definitely pay close attention to exterior doors, but all doors are checked. And they're
Hmm.
actually checked weekly.
Oh, really?
Yes, it's a requirement. It's one of our requirements here in the state of Texas.
Oh, is that new?
Yeah. It's as a result of Uvalde.
Oh,
Yeah.
that, I mean, that's good that it's being checked and it's being checked often, but it's also
Hmm.
so sad because of why it had to happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. It is sad that it's as a result of an unfortunate and very sad incident. But I'm glad that we're doing it.
Right. I just remember when I was in high school, it was still of the time and then
Mm.
I graduated in 2013, and so it was still
Okay.
early enough where not many schools were implementing security practices. In my
Right.
senior year was when they locked doors. They locked all the
Okay.
doors in school, but they kept only one open during the morning so that people
Hmm.
could get into like the atrium, and everybody was so upset that only one door was unlocked. And now, as an adult, I
Yeah.
completely understand why. And I'm like, how could they ever be unlocked?
Right, exactly. And we don't want it to feel institutionalized. We still want our students and our staff to feel safe. And so it's important that we communicate why we're doing what we're doing and hoping to reach, that broader community to say, you know what, that makes sense. And I'm glad you're doing it.
Right. How do you gather and incorporate feedback from students or staff about areas that may feel unsafe?
Well, the campuses can submit work requests, and in those work requests, they do either deem it or term it as a safety issue. But
Hmm.
I also have or host quarterly meetings with our divisions. We have four divisions here in Houston ISD, a North Division, which is made up of a certain number of campuses, as well as a South Division, a number of campuses, our Central Division, as well as our West Division. And so I do meet with those division leaders, as well
Hmm.
as their executive directors, and engage in conversation with them to understand what their needs and concerns are. In addition to that, as I'm talking to, and I had a meeting just yesterday with a principal, but as I'm meeting and speaking with executive directors, their principals do elevate those concerns to them.
Okay.
um, yeah, so we have maintenance directors that are responsible for maintaining or overseeing the maintenance of the campuses in each of those divisions. They walk their campuses, they meet with the principals. The principals also share issues and concerns, especially as it relates to safety. So
Hmm.
it's not just the physical and hardening of the buildings aspect of it. We're looking at pests, as well, because that's also a part of safety. So,
Hmm.
reaching out to those individuals from the principals to the division leaders. We also hear from community members. But it's also great to hear what the students are expressing or feeling as it relates to safety. So we hear from students as well.
Yeah. What are some things that students have pointed out that you have implemented?
Interesting enough, they spoke about just environmental safety.
Okay.
And there were a couple of students that talked about the trays that they're eating from. And
Okay.
they wanted to incorporate a more safe tray as opposed to just that general plastic tray. And
Yeah.
so, I kid you not, we just had that conversation yesterday. And so we're looking at the trays that they're eating from.
That's so interesting. I wonder what
Hmm.
alternatives there are, because I feel like every school district has the same type of
That
tray,
plastic. Yeah.
plastic with like the circle in the upper right-hand
Right.
corner.
Yeah. Yeah. They're looking at bamboo trays. They wanted us to introduce the bamboo tray um,
Oh,
versus styrofoam or that hard plastic. So we are going to do a pilot of bamboo trays in some of our campuses.
oh, I'm interested to hear the results of that and like what the cleaning
Yeah.
aspect of it would be like. Keep
Yes,
us
they did a
posted.
whole, I definitely will. They did a complete research and presented it to their superintendent, as well as our deputy of nutrition services, as well as our energy and sustainability team.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
so,
students did that?
yes, 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 they raised those concerns. So,
Yeah.
yes,
See, you
yeah,
guys, the kids are just fine. Look at what they're doing.
right, right.
That is
Smart kids.
incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but in what other ways do you collaborate with school administrators and local law enforcement on just school safety or emergency preparedness in general?
Yeah, so of course, I always hear from the community, whether it's, campuses being lighted properly. So
Hmm.
we'll hear from community members there. During our normal or regular board meetings, we hear from community members as well as parents, as well as different advocates for the students and the community. And so there's several mechanisms and platforms where we're able to engage in conversation and respond to our well, students, the staff, and the community.
Hmm.
So it's never a dull moment.
No, I can't imagine, especially because Houston is so big.
Yes, everything's big in Texas.
Because is it the fourth? What side, where does it fall in the top?
So Houston ISD is the largest district in the state of Texas and the eighth largest in the nation.
Hmm. Man, you gotta have some thick skin.
Oh, yes. Yes. 273 campuses, with, of course, additional um, support facilities.
Do you feel extra pressure because the district is that big?
Not because the district is so big, is because of the unknowns. And so, as I
Hmm.
started out, we're in hurricane season.
Right.
And so, I won't claim that I have PTSD, but living through Hurricane Harvey and then going through the winter freezes. Last year we had a derecho followed closely by a Hurricane Beryl. Um, it's the unknowns. We don't, we even though we
Hmm.
know a storm is coming, we don't know how, I guess, the potential damage from the storm. And
Right.
so it's the unknown. And of course, I want to, if I had the strength to just hover over the buildings, of course I would do that. But I know I'm superwoman, but I just can't protect everything.
Right. Is there, I know that there's so much unknown, especially when it comes to a hurricane or just any type
Right.
of
Yep.
extreme weather event, but what are some practices you have in place since learning from Harvey?
Yeah. So we recently had a tabletop exercise where we brought in different departments as well as our school leadership, as well as our police department and our safety and emergency management team. And during that tabletop exercise, we were able to go through various checklists and determine who was responsible for what. So it's not just one department that's responsible for everything. It's
Hmm.
understanding who is actually responsible for what and being able to communicate any updates, any risks, or any other concerns. And so we've implemented that. We've also incorporated quarterly meetings amongst the facilities team just to go through and make sure our um practices and processes are intact. If we
Right.
needed to update anything, of course, that was our opportune time to do so. We recently went through a reorganization where roles, responsibilities, and departments changed. And so
Hmm.
that was a great opportunity to update those processes there and really realize what we were missing, what was redundant, and just how to make it better.
Do you do a lot of drills then?
We do several drills. We do several drills. We are actually required to do drills, not just your traditional fire alarm or fire drill. We do active shooter drills. Again, we just did the tabletop for the inclement weather events, and so we're focusing on reunification as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
gosh, that you don't ever think about that.
No. Mm-mm.
No, I
No. And
never
yeah.
once ever thought about how that would have to be a drill. Oh, that kind of like makes me sick to my stomach.
But it is a really good exercise. Not only did I do it here in Houston ISD, I also participate in track and field events as well.
Okay.
And so, in working with the youth, it just really triggered in my mind of what if we did have a storm or what if we did have lightning, how do we get these kids to their parents? And so
Right.
then I just tied it in all together and say, we're doing the same thing in the district. Here's what we're doing in the district. How do we
Mhm.
implement it here in this extracurricular activity?
Do you have a secondary location that you take that you would have to take students to?
We would.
Yeah. How do
Hmm.
you decide the type of building? Does it have to be a certain distance away?
Not necessarily a certain distance. It just has to be large enough to be able to receive the students. It has to be safe enough to receive the students, and not just the students. We have to think about the parents being able to get to their family members,
Right.
the
Oh,
parents and the guardians, rather.
yeah, the parking. You have to consider
Right.
parking.
You have to consider parking. You have to consider access
Mhm.
in and out, because of course you don't
Right.
want that all cluttered. Um, Being able to get to the building as well, because of course you have to think about the media, um, and
Mhm.
just people in, just panicking.
Right. My husband's grandma owns a roller rink. I swear this is related to what we were what we're talking about.
Oh,
And they got asked very shortly after Parkland to be the reunification
oh
spot. If
wow.
anything were to happen at the schools, everybody would go
Yeah.
to the roller rink to be
Wow.
reunited with their families. And now, as you gave more details, I'm thinking about the area of the town that it's in, and I'm like, yeah, that checks. That probably is a good location for
Yeah.
it. But man, what a that must just like wreck your day whenever you
Yeah.
have to talk about stuff like that.
And it all focuses or centers around safety.
Right.
All centers around safety, because even in those type of unfortunate events, you still want to remain safe and calm as possible.
Mhm. Because if you're not safe or if you're not calm, the students aren't going to be calm.
Correct. Yep. Yes.
And there's too
Yeah.
many hormones pumping through those bodies to have someone freaking out on them.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Mental safety, mental health is a part of safety as well.
Yeah. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Yeah.
Because I know that people are talking about mental health a lot more, especially in schools.
Yes. So I remember during Hurricane Harvey, and it was just trying to remain as calm as possible and try not to panic. We were actually staying here in the administration building more than 6, 7 days, and we watched the water in our cameras as it was going through some of the buildings. We watched the news, and you constantly see people
Mhm.
asking for help. And so trying to remain calm and knowing that, okay, we have to get out, we have to ensure that the campuses are clean and free of the water. We had to take those deep breaths. And
Mhm.
so that was one thing that I encouraged the team. I just told them, okay, stop, because everybody was just, we were all panicking, I'll say that. And so I said, okay, just stop. And then I said, breathe. And they didn't
Mm-hmm.
understand it. I would say the team didn't understand it at first. They were just kind of looking at me like, breathe. And I said, yeah, let's take a deep breath.
Mm-hmm.
And we did that a couple of times. I kid you not, that helped.
Yeah.
That really, really, really helped. Taking those deep breaths was so important for me personally in order to
Mm-hmm.
be able to lead the team.
It regulates your system. It fights
Yes,
off the panic attack that you might be
yes,
having. And
absolutely,
yeah, and
absolutely.
I think that's important to remember too. And then like we were saying, you can't be the one that's freaking out. Like I think the hardest part about being an adult or just being a parent or a guardian, just any in charge of kids in any sort, is that you have to be brave every single
Right,
day.
right.
And I mean, we've been out of school for so long that we have to remember that school is a safe place for many, many children.
So many children. Yes,
And
yes,
when in a situation like Hurricane Harvey, when their home is getting washed away, that's their safety net. And
right.
so, how do you help kids with that thought process?
Of course, we have counselors, that would be on hand. We work with that team as well. But understanding that some of the campuses are the safe havens for so many, whether it's the students or the staff members.
Mm-hmm.
The campuses are safer than so many homes. And
Right.
so ensuring that the campuses are maintained properly, again, making sure the air is running properly, making sure campuses are well lit, making sure they're clean. All of that is a part of safety. And
Right.
so that is my focus daily. I look at work orders daily, to see where we can improve on. I look to see what's been outstanding for an extended period of time to ensure that, it's something that can be delayed and not as critical, to make sure it's not a safety issue.
Right.
And then again, working with that team that is able to look at mental well-being of our students and our staff, we have to
Mm-hmm.
have that in place. Um,
Right.
it's just it's not an option.
And I love that. I love that you're making that such a priority in your district because, I mean, I'm sure all the teachers, everyone says that safety is their number one priority, but
Right,
there's so
right.
much more that goes into it. Safety is, like you said at the beginning, safety is a broad word.
Yes.
It can mean
Yes.
so many different things to other people. And part of
Hmm.
being, when a student feels safe, they're going to do better in
Yes.
school too.
Yep.
What
Hmm.
other methods do you use to make sure that students are able to just succeed in school?
Yeah. So again, just looking at it, and I always tell the team, I'm going to go back to the facilities portion of it or facilities aspect. But what I always tell the team, and we constantly do campus visits. When you approach that campus, what is it that you see? Is that grass maintained? That's
Mhm.
part one. When you enter into the complex or the building itself, is it well lit? Put yourself in the shoes or the body of a student. When I walk into that building, what do I see? What do I feel?
Right.
Are the restrooms clean and maintained? I have to
Mhm.
feel safe in order to use the restroom also, because so
Right.
many kids can have an accident if it doesn't even look presentable or if it doesn't look safe. When I'm sitting in that classroom, am I cold? Am I hot? Or is the temperature just right? Because in order
Mhm.
for me to learn, in order for me to focus, we have to make sure the temperature is well adjusted and we're breathing in that fresh air.
Right.
When I go to the cafeteria, what is that experience as well? And so it's putting ourselves in the bodies and the minds of the students and engaging with them and receiving their feedback. Do you feel safe? How can
Right.
we make it better? And
Do
so
do you
what
send
you
out like
got?
a student survey ever, or do you just like have a focus group or just like talk to them?
I try not to send out so many surveys because I don't want it to feel like a test
That's
of,
fair.
you know what
That
I
is
mean?
fair.
But we did, and I haven't resurrected it just yet. We did have a focus group where it included not just students, but it also included community members that were part of just different organizations, from health and medical to
Hmm.
youth activities and athletics, just to a general community member. And so I do want to resurrect that. I am going to resurrect it. It became a lot.
Yeah, I bet. What do the students say? I know that you talked a little bit about the trays, but have they said anything
Yep.
else?
They focused on AC, the HVAC
Okay.
systems,
Hmm.
um, and just improving air quality. So that was a lot of attention here in Houston.
Was that post-COVID?
It was post COVID. Some of our buildings, of course, not being able to open windows, how do we get that airflow flowing properly? And it was more so educating them of regulating the air quality
Right. What's the
or the
ideal
airflow.
te what's the ideal temperature for student learning?
Between 75 to 77.
That cannot be accurate. That seems warm.
It seems warm. Yeah.
Okay, but I'm Wisconsin, so
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm not used to the heat.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. About 75 to 77 degrees. You don't want them too cold, and then you
Right.
definitely don't want them too warm.
Yeah. Because I feel like if you came to Wisconsin and you sat in like a 77-degree room, you'd be like, "What? It is
Like, what is going
toasty."
on here?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I wonder if that changes per geographical location.
I'm definitely sure it will.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask because as
Yeah.
listeners know, for the 1000th time, my husband is a teacher, so I feel like he can get the scoop for me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, here if we have a power outage, we monitor the temperatures in the classrooms to not allow it to exceed 82 degrees.
Okay, and then the kids have to go home.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, because 82 is warm. I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah. Yeah, 82 is warm.
Um, what other features have you found to best support focus and learning, especially in younger students, like your elementary kiddos?
Um, they were very interested in water and or the water quality. And I remember years ago, we used, like, part of the STEM or SEAM program, they would introduce the different types of, I guess, pieces of equipment that you could use to either filter water and focus on that water. But it was really interesting that the conversations that I've had with young personally with younger students, they focused on the water, and it's because of what they were doing at home. They had the
Okay.
water filters at home that they would use. And so some of our students wanted to know where are the filters on the water fountains. And so
Oh,
as a result of COVID, we did install water filtered stations, but you don't actually see the physical water filter. And so
right.
it was a matter of explaining just to that one group that I spoke to on where the water filter is. And so it's actually within the system itself.
Does Houston have a water quality issue at all?
I don't think we have a water quality issue. I think it's more so of common practices that we use now at home, from the
Yeah.
different water filters, as well as these newer homes are being built, especially smart homes is built with water filters inside your faucet. And also, so what we're doing here in the district, and we've done several iterations of it, we're doing lead testing in our water.
Okay.
And so of course, as a result of the Flint, Michigan
Yeah.
incident years ago, we did our first round of testing of lead and water testing in 2016, 2017. And anything that was above the 20 parts per billion, we made repairs, whether it was an additional cleaning or, just changing out some of the spigots, and then we would retest. And so we did that initially in 2016, 2017 until we got through all of our campuses. And then we started another round of it in 2023.
Okay.
And then we lowered the parts per billion to 15 parts per billion. Now we know that no amount of lead is safe, but we
Mhm.
wanted to make sure that we were either identifying areas of concern and addressing them, or just understanding if we actually had water issues or water quality issues. We receive our water from the city of Houston. And
Right.
so, what we found though, because we had some of our older, water fountains or water systems in place, that it was time to change out some of that equipment. So by
Mhm.
installing the water filter stations, of course, that did address a lot of those issues. So it wasn't necessarily the water itself, but we do know, especially in the summer, when students are not in session, that water is not constantly running. And so
Yeah.
we do have to flush it when they return. And so luckily our building services team is on site. They're doing summer cleaning. They constantly are cleaning so that water is
Yeah.
constantly flowing.
That Yeah, I a water line just broke on my block last weekend. It was a great way to kick off the long weekend. But once the water finally turned on, I had to fill up our bathtub like 3 times
Oh,
just to get
wow.
all the sediment and
Yeah.
nastiness
Yeah.
out. But I can't imagine water just being like, I know this is a very privileged statement, but just I'm so grateful for our water not being like that all the
Yes.
time. And while,
Yeah.
yes, Milwaukee does have a lead crisis, currently we we have the means to be safe now in
Right.
this day and age because of filters and people just caring a
Yes.
lot more about their health,
Yeah.
basically.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And just letting that water flow, constantly, so it's not building up or
Mhm.
just sitting stagnant, that's helpful as well.
Right. And I know we don't ever want to compromise the safety or wellness of students. It like that stuff like that really does take time. But what are some quick wins other facility managers can implement to ensure their safety?
So one, ensuring that they are constantly flushing their systems.
Mhm.
And then two, as I mentioned, we've installed water filter stations, or a lot of people say bottle filling stations, but water filter stations, just to ensure you have um, those water filters in place. So that's going to be critical. And then three, just doing a general testing of your water quality. So
Mhm.
those are three simple, well, I'm saying simple, but three ways that you could check the water quality.
No, I think those are really good things to consider. But is there anything else just like overall facility related to not just related to water?
And just checking your resources, checking to make sure you understand where the water is coming from.
Mhm. Good. But Alicia, that's pretty much all that I have for you today. Is there anything
Okay.
else you would like to add?
I would just say safety is not just defined as one thing.
Right.
Safety is it's holistic. And so from a building perspective, hardening your building, but not making it institutional. But then taking out of the building, looking at self and putting yourself in place of a student, making sure your grounds are safe and clean and clear of clutter and pests, ensuring that restrooms are clean as well. making sure your floors are clean. That's
Mhm.
critical as well because as you walk on the floor, you're picking up all of that dirt and bacteria. And that's about it.
No, I think that's a great thing to end on, but thank you, Alicia. It's always so nice talking to you. Feels like
Yes,
I'm talking to
always.
my mom a little bit, whatever, because I can just sense how much you care about the students. So I
Yes.
love it.
Yep.
But thank you.
Thank
Thank you for listening to the Facilities in Focus podcast. Facilities in Focus is a product of the facility market, which houses FacilitiesNet, building operating management, facilities maintenance decisions, and healthcare facilities today. Thank you to our sound and video editor, Paul Ellertson. Thank you to Morgan Johnson for designing our logo. Thank you to Dan Walton, Dave Lubach, Dan Hounsell, Jeff Warden, Jill McDermott, and everyone else at Trade Press Media Group. For comments, or if you are interested in being a guest on Facilities in Focus, please email us at fnpodcast@tradepress.com.